Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us for our Balanced Life, Happy Life for Tuesday, October 24th. Each week, we gather together to look at this idea of creating more balance in life and a life that is full with lots of abundance in which we can thrive. And we look at 5 specific elements that help us to do that: air, water, sleep, nutrition, and natural energies. And this evening, we are going to be looking at how these 5 elements combine to create a Nikan wellness home, an environment where you truly can thrive. This evening, we're going to be looking at air and the importance of air in maintaining a healthy body, mind, and lifestyle. And we have with us Dr. Liliana Warner. Dr. Warner runs a clinic in Georgia. She's a doctor of chiropractics and is a gold wellness consultant and is someone who is quite educated on the subject matter, as you'll see. So joining us tonight to share about air matters, please welcome Dr. Warner. Dr. Warner.
Hi, thanks so much. All right, we're just gonna share my screen here, get the ball rolling. All right, great. Okay, so we are starting, as Jeff said, with our 5 different areas that we like to focus on and balance life, happy life. And tonight we're going to focus on air. So what exactly is a Nikan wellness home, which is a concept that Jeff just mentioned, and I like to highlight. So a Nikan wellness home transforms your living spaces into a safe haven, a place that not only supports better health and energy, but promotes balance and well-being. So what exactly does this mean? So when you come home to your home, we want to make sure that that space that you come home to really supports you. Not that it's a place you come to just to sleep or just to rest before you go back out to your busy life, but where you come home to heal. And when that space truly supports you, then we promote health across the board. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what that looks like. All right. Uh-oh, there we go. All right, so air quality, we're going to dive right in here. So the problem here is, of course, that we breathe air all the time, and we need that air to be really healthy in order to thrive ourselves. And so we're going to read a couple little quotes here, and then we're going to dive right into inside air, because that's really what our talk is about tonight. So air pollution is the 4th highest risk factor for death globally, and by far the leading environmental risk factor for disease. Nationwide studies show that when particulate matter in air pollution goes up, premature death goes up. And I want to spend just a moment on this sentence. So particulate matter is the stuff in the air, right? So when we measure the amount of air pollution in a city, for example, we're measuring what's in the air, and that's called particulate matter. And we know from the pandemic recently, not that long ago, that cities where they had the highest particulate matter, the highest air pollution, had a lot more severe illness and death. And so this statement really says it all, that when particulate matter, air pollution goes up, premature death goes up. This is so important. And remember that in a moment when we talk about our inside air. So despite decades of environmental efforts, over 40% of Americans, more than 137 million people, live in cities and states with poor air quality. So indoor air. So the fact is that indoor air can be much more dangerous than outdoor air. And this is something most people aren't aware of. They think, well, I live in a polluted city, but then I'm going to come home and I'm going to go inside my home where maybe you have air filters, but you certainly, have an HVAC system that cleanses your air to some degree, right? Keeps it circulating and moving. Maybe you even don't open your windows because you live in a polluted area and you don't want to let the not fresh air in, or you live in somewhere where you feel good about the air for the most part, and then you're opening your windows and letting that beautiful air in on those nice days, right? So with that being said, it still is true that indoor air can be more dangerous. So we're going to look at a little bit of why that is. So 50% of all illness is aggravated by polluted indoor air. So, and then back to that first one, the air within our homes and other buildings can be more seriously polluted than the outdoor air, even in the largest and most industrialized cities. So you could be in a city that's super polluted and your indoor air is still worse, which is just crazy to think about. And so when we talk about illness being aggravated by that polluted indoor air, what we're talking about is illnesses like, say, asthma that might exist at all times, be part of a person's health quotient, if you will, their health descriptors. And then they're in a polluted environment and they're going to get worse, right? So this is often categories that fall under allergy, asthma things, but not all of them. Many things can be affected by this indoor polluted air and outdoor. So pollutants can be 2 to 5 times higher inside than outside, which is just crazy high. And we spend nearly 90% of our time indoors. So it's really important that this indoor air quality is affected very deliberately. Okay, so let's talk about where that indoor air pollution comes from. So we're going to start on the top right here. So heating and air conditioning. So things like pollen, mold spores, pet hair and dander that gets circulated around the house, air pollution from outdoors if you're opening the windows, bottom right, household products. So the things we use in our home. So things like solvents, insecticides, herbicides, cleansers, disinfectants. So the things we're using to clean our house actually can be pollutants for our air. So top left, construction and furniture materials. So things like lead, formaldehyde, VOCs, volatile organic compounds, adhesives, finishes, paints, all sorts of actual building and furniture materials can do things like off gas for a long time, actually. So carpeting, clothing, and bedding can also be a culprit. And this is really because cloth fabrics tend to hold things like dust and fibers, odors, chemical residue. And so it's really important that you're cleaning all those cloth things really regularly in your home, and that you're cleaning it with a product, right, that isn't also a culprit of indoor air quality problems. So you want to be using something really clean to disinfect those other products like your rugs and your curtains, things people don't clean as often as, say, their sheets or clothing. Okay, so in the kitchen, we have things like food waste, cooking odors and vapors, smoke itself. Even the best cook has days where their food doesn't turn out exactly as expected. So it's really important that we're aware of how to properly aerate that space. Bathrooms are another really important one. So we have things like aerosols from products we might use, sewer gas itself, mildew, chloroform from chlorinated water. This is super duper important. And just a little side note, we do have, along with these amazing air filters we're going to talk about in a minute, we have amazing water filters and shower filters, which I highly recommend because that's water you're actually heating up. So that's really important. And this is what this note is about, that chlorinated water heated becomes toxic. And so that's a really important note. All right, so symptoms of poor indoor air quality can be anything from headaches, eye irritation, fatigue, dry throat, sinus congestion, dizziness, nausea, to name a few. And there are many more, but those are kind of the most basic we see, or the most common we see. So other things we want to highlight, things like tobacco, chemicals, pesticides, actual fumes, molds and bacterias, and all of that can get actually in our air that we're trying to breathe to stay healthy in our home. Then I want to just talk about some simple common sense steps to reduce indoor air pollution. So the first is don't store chemical solvents, glues, or pesticides in your home. So think about if you're going to breathe the air, you don't want things in there they're going to make that air toxic, right? So basically find a better place to store them. Minimize the risk of deadly carbon monoxide gas by properly maintaining and venting heating equipment, wood stoves, fireplaces, chimneys, and vents, and by installing carbon monoxide alarms on all levels of your home. This is really important for health of everyone in the home, including pets. So remove sources of air contaminants, buy organic furniture, not treated with chemicals, and avoid harsh chemical air fresheners and cleaning products. So don't idle your car, run fuel burning power equipment, or light a barbecue grill in your garage, basement, or any confined space near your home. Some of these should be really obvious. And also, we want to make sure you're following all of these. And most important, clean the air using filters. So I want to share what you're going to look for when you're shopping for a filtration system for your air. So portable units are going to be the best. That's so you can move it around as needed. You're going to look for a high efficiency filtration system with less than 0.3 microns. So a HEPA filter is really what you're looking for. That way, you know, it's addressing things like viruses and bacteria, carbon dust, combustion smoke, really fine, small particles. So that's key. HEPA filter for sure. You're going to avoid air filters that deliberately produce ozone. There's sometimes called ozone generators or ionizers, and they make it seem like it's a really healthy thing, but it's not. And we're going to talk about what they're comparing it to or pretending to be in just a moment that you actually do want. So no ozone generators or ionizers, please, for your health. You want it to be cost effective, of course. And as important as the rest of this is that it's quiet. The last thing you want is a loud machine running around you all the time. So you also want it to be easy to operate and easy to maintain. All right, so our purifier through Niken is called the Kenko Air Purifier. And our tagline is to breathe is to live, which is true, and very practical advice. Okay, so let's talk about how this one matches up. So this is a multiple stage filtration, captures up to 99.97% of the 0.3 micron particles, like we talked about. So it's a HEPA filter. The KAP, that's Kenko Air Purifier, is patented to generate negative ions. So when you say something is an ionizer, that does not mean it produces negative ions. Negative ions are good. Ionizers are bad. I know the words sound similar, but they're different things. So this is what gives the air around you, negative ions are what gives you the air quality of being in nature, like in a forest or a waterfall or by the ocean. In many countries, they practice something called forest bathing or grounding, has the same effect. And this is because of the negative ions. And so it's really important that not only are you cleaning your air, but you're also taking time to really put back into your air the things that help us thrive. So with our machine, the pre-filter is reusable. This is so important because it's going to cut down on the amount of replacing of filters you have to do because you're cleaning out that pre-filter regularly to keep, make our filters last longer. So then the other filters are replaceable. And it's made with recyclable materials because we really want to care for the environment while we're caring for the air. So it has a particle sensor, and you can see that on the machine on the screen there. So it detects the ambient pollution level and operates automatically. So it can be placed on manual operation if desired, but you can also just leave it on automatic and it will take care of what it needs to. And here I'd like to pause and tell you a quick story of something that happened to me just the other weekend. So when I travel, if I'm driving, I literally take my Kenko air purifier with me. So I was staying at an Airbnb in the mountains 2 weekends ago, and it's, I'm in the beautiful mountains. The air is wonderful. I'm in Atlanta, and it was like, just starting to get cool here some days. And it was so lovely. And we were in our Airbnb, and I set up the air purifier in the main room, and I was so delighted that the light was blue and there wasn't any concern. And so I felt safe, and we went to bed, and I slept terribly And the minute I was in my room, I was coughing and sneezing, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong because I was running the purifier. So I got up and I moved it to my bedroom, and immediately it turned bright red and went on full blast. And so, whatever was going on in that home, on the other side of the home where I set it up originally, I was blue and fabulous. But by the time I got back to my bedroom and plugged it in, where I was feeling the air was obviously not okay, it was bright red. I left the room, I shut the door, I blasted it. 20 minutes later, I came in, bright blue. I went to bed, slept like a baby, no more coughing. That was tried and true evidence to me of why I have a million of these machines, both in my office and my home, and why I go to the trouble, because it is so portable, of traveling with it when I travel. So that's my fun story about my most recent foray and use of my machine here. Okay, so it's also Energy Star rated. So that means it's qualified 35% more efficient than standard models. So it's really efficient. We want that. So it saves 215 kilowatt hours per year, achieved with environmentally friendly technology to only use 55 watts to cover 313 square feet per 29 square meters. So this is really important when you're comparing different machines, right? You don't want to use a ton of energy to do this work. So the Kangaroo Purifier is clean air with a conscience. You can breathe well and help sustain the environment all in one. It's easy to share. You can share better health and share a commitment to reduce, reuse, and recycle, and support Mother Nature, all while keeping your family healthy. So this is a picture of the Niken filter in a beautiful home setting. That is literally the model that we currently have. Love it. And we invite you to be part of our global wellness network, our community. And if you'd like to join, you can ask the person who invited you tonight for more information, whether you just would like to find out more about our healthy products or to learn more about our business as well. And thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Liliana, for sharing your expertise with us tonight. This is an amazing place to be each and every week to learn about all of these things that you can do right now with these amazing technologies to make your life better. And like Dr. Warner, we have amazing individuals joining us each and every week to talk about one of these topics. Next week, we will be looking at natural energies and taking a stress test. This, of course, is something that concerns many people in our modern world, and we'll be joined by Kimball Sargent next week, who will help us to understand how to use these natural energies in Niken's products in order to create the wellness home where we can truly thrive. Thank you, everyone, for being with us this evening. We'll see you next week for Balanced Life, Happy Life. Thank you again, Dr. Warner. Have a great evening, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.